Welcome to Sensible Health Solutions, the show where we simplify health and wellness. Join your hosts, Hallie Fields and Dr. Scott Luper, as they share practical tips and expert insight to help you navigate common ailments, nutrition, and overall well-being. Tune in for straightforward advice that empowers you to live a healthier life.
Good morning, Dr. Luper.
Good morning, Hallie.
So, we were just getting into the thick of our last episode on immune system. And
we were so rudely cut off because we ran out of time.
Yeah, it happens when you have a lot to talk about.
Well, I anticipated this because it's a subject that takes more than a half hour to talk about, and that's the immune system, how it works and how to fix it. Mm-hmm. So you want to jump right back in?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Let's
let me just review a little bit
Yes.
from last show. We talked about the innate immune system. That's the part of our immune system that basically protects us from stuff just because we have it. So things can't get into our body to give us infection to begin with. Skin being the best example. Mucous membranes are another good example, a kind of extension of our skin. The mucus that's on our mucous membranes is another layer of protection. The stomach acid that our stomach produces is another example of innate protection. I mean, we're not making antibodies against the bugs on our food. We're just cooking them in acid.
Yep.
Right?
Right.
And so, well, there's that much less bacteria we have to deal with. Woo-woo, we save someone's life, right? Because we have this stomach acid thing. Except for it's so often blocked. Millions of people are taking acid blockers, and millions of people are at increased risk for getting digestive infections because of it. So I'm a big fan for having stomach acid and doing things to fix the problem at its core. But again, that's another show, so let's not do that one. There's other elements to the immune system that are considered innate. One of those is the white blood cells.
Yeah, that's where I was wondering what we were missing last episode is what about the white blood cells?
Yeah, white blood cells. So what white blood cells do, they're little cells that go around looking for foreign material.
They pick fights.
They could sense it, and when they sense it, they go and they eat it. Mm-hmm. Or they dump bunches of chemicals and just kill it locally.
Yeah.
So the way the white blood cells, there's different kinds of white blood cells, but this is a common trick of white blood cells. They got these little packets of poison, maybe 1,000, and they store them inside them. And they're just all safely sealed up in these little membranes.
What's the packet of poison called?
Oh, they're called vacuoles.
Vacuoles.
That's a name. The doctor name is called vacuoles.
Yes.
These are vacuoles. And so when they get close to something that they want to kill, the vacuoles get pushed out to the surface, and the vacuole membrane touches the cell membrane. They blend, and it goes pop. It just literally it attaches to that membrane, and the membrane just turns to one. And boop, now you just dumped a little packet of poison in the environment. Now, I'm the white blood cell, you're the pathogen. Pop! And you're like, wow, I don't like that. But better yet, pop, 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 pop. I do 100 of them, and now you're wasted.
Done.
You're cooked.
Done.
The amount of poison is well beyond what your tolerance for it is, and I just took you out.
What's the poison called?
They vary from white blood cell to white blood cell. They're just basically innate poisons, things that kill the other stuff. This is particularly good for viruses because these tend to break down proteins, and viruses are made of proteins, and so you could just strip the proteins down to its basic amino acids, and there ain't no virus anymore. We just killed it. Okay. Now the trick of this thing is you have to be on the spot. You have to be ready right when the organism shows up. So it's like luck. There's no oh, far away there's this thing, right? That's the adaptive immune system doing its thing. It's more like you just came in the wrong place and you ran into me and I'm taking you down. That's great. I mean, we got a lot of that going on. There's some organisms, that's the only immune system they have. It's just this innate, right place, right time kind of system that they have. And it works. I mean, it works pretty good. The vast majority of immune action that we do is all innate. So, now there's another thing now you're dead.
Okay.
Now there's dead stuff laying around. It's free food for anything that lies around. We got another bacteria coming in, and if I move on, and now they're going to eat it. So we should clean this up. This is part of the immune system as well, keeping everything tidy. So there are some cells, they're called macrophages, which is doctorese for big eaters.
Okay.
Well named.
Yes, macro. Yeah.
They bloob in and then they absorb and digest whatever the thing is, whether it's a bacteria or virus or fungus or something like that. And so they basically just digest these things, clean the area up. And so that's also part of our innate system. As I'm thinking of these, I'm thinking of so many details that I'm not saying.
It's pretty intricate. I think we could probably do 4 or 5 shows.
There's a thing where they eat the foreign organism, then they examine the pieces and they go, ooh, this one's interesting, and they take it and they blob it out to the surface of the cell and say, look, this is what they taste like.
Oh.
And so then the other cells go, wow, and they check it out. Well, that's really a trip. Hey, look, why don't we make some kind of like antibody? Whoa. Now we're into the adaptive immune system. Let's hold off on that.
Okay.
So these big eaters have a role to play in getting the more advanced immune system up and running. But let's go back and talk more about the innate immune system. There's another thing we have that's super important, is we got these proteins that are just looking for a bacteria to land on. So they're sticky for bacteria. So if bacteria shows up, that's the most likely thing to get through our skin or our mucous membranes is bacteria. And so if a bacteria that gets in our system, these proteins just can sense that bacteria is there, so they land on the bacteria because it's sticky. There's a certain polysaccharide cell wall that bacteria have that's attractive to these proteins. So they stick to the bacteria, then they attach another one that sticks, and then they attach another one that sticks, and it's called a complement. One goes to the next, goes to the next, goes to the next, and it forms this little structure, like a self-assembling erector set on the outside of the bacteria. And then the last piece goes flunk and kills the bacteria, cuts it open, and the whole thing spills out, and the guts of the bacteria come out, and we got a dead bacteria. And we never had any white blood cells. We never had to have the skin work. It wasn't an acid bath. It's just we make these proteins that are just innate, all automatic. We don't have to lift a finger, bacteria killers. And we get, again, most of our protection from these cells, from these complement cells. Every once in a while, complement goes bad. It doesn't work right, or more likely, it becomes overactivated. And people's immune systems get screwed up. So there's testing that we can do. That's one of the nice things. We really haven't gone into the other show.
Well,
testing.
That's why I was asking what the white blood cells secrete, what that poison was, and if there was a test to test how much of that poison that they're secreting.
The poison is one thing. The answer is yes.
Yes.
But what's better is to measure the chemicals that they use to communicate.
Okay.
They're called cytokines.
Yes, that's.
And there's a bunch of cytokines, hundreds of these cytokines. Though, if you're going to do a cytokine panel and check them all, it's about a $10,000 test. No one wants to pay. The insurance company has a fit. And so we don't actually do that. And now I'll go and look at individual cytokines.
Okay.
I do. IL-6 is a particular one I'm interested in.
IL-6?
IL-6.
And what is
Interleukin 6 is what it is, yeah. But the better way to do that is to just check to see if the cytokines as a group have been activated. So cytokines are part of our innate system as well. They're kind of a bridge between the two systems, the adaptive system and the innate system, because they get everybody riled up. That's really what they do. More or less, the majority of them are stimulatory to our immune system. Now, there's a few cytokines that are calming, that their job is to kind of put the brakes on everything. So those exist as well. But the majority of these guys are all about let's go kill stuff. And so...
are leukocytes cytokines?
Leukocytes are white blood cells.
White blood cells, okay.
Yeah. Leuko meaning white, and then cyte, cell, white blood cells. Okay, so anyways, the cytokines can be a problem. If cytokines get activated too much, then our immune system goes crazy. It dumps a zillion chemicals. It makes us really, really, really sick. So cytokines have this ability to really blow us up. And that is actually what caused people to die with COVID. It wasn't the virus taking over their body. It was the fact that the virus stimulated the cytokines severely. It was just a quirk of the virus. It was one of the things that it did. And our immune system was actually killing ourselves. So if we could regulate the immune system and get it not to get so activated, then people will have much better chance of surviving COVID. And we already talked about how to get your immune system to regulate. One of the most powerful things you could do is take vitamin D. So the death rate in people who had adequate amounts of vitamin D compared to people who had low levels of vitamin D was about a tenth.
Yep.
About a tenth of what it was. Yeah, that's a huge difference. The weird thing to me is how come nobody made any fuss about that? Some people did. The English, as a country, gave vitamin D out for free as a way to keep people from dying. But it wasn't part of the kind of the general conversation. I mean, I told everybody I could, talk to. We did a show on it. I did a bunch of things talking about vitamin D and how it was helpful to not die from COVID. And it's useful information.
Yeah.
But generally, people didn't know, and it wasn't part of the conversation. It was weird. Anyways.
Weird. Yeah.
Cytokines are a thing. And you can check them, and to see what's going on, you can get a sense of how jacked up the immune system is by measuring cytokines. But more importantly than measuring the cytokines is to measure the chemicals that are upregulated by the cytokines. Again, there's about 190 of these cytokines identified, just short of 200. That's a lot of things to be checking. But if you check MMP9, it's a protein that our body makes in order to allow the cytokines to move in and out of blood vessels. It makes little teeny holes in our blood vessels the cytokines slip through. It's a very specific protein for a very specific job. I mean, it makes holes. It's a hole-making protein is what it is. So you wouldn't think that's really an important part of your immune system, yet it is, because these chemicals can't move around unless they got the hole-making mechanism.
So
and if you want to check and see if the cytokines are activated, all you have to do is check the hole-making protein, this MMP9. If MMP9 is elevated, then the cytokines are elevated, and you got a problem. Now, most people already know this because they ache. They feel like they have the flu. If they do anything, they feel super tired. Exercise wrecks them. So this is, most people call this chronic fatigue, but what this is in the vast majority of cases, when you search for it, their cytokines are activated, and the MMP9 will be activated. Anything above a 300 is considered elevated. Most of these people run in 700, 800, 900, somewhere around there. Sometimes over 1,000, sometimes over 1,500, depending. The ones that are over 1,500 are just wrecks. I mean, they can't function. They can't hardly work. They can't do their life. They're miserable. And then when you check for infections and stuff like that, they don't have them, and nobody knows what's wrong with them. It's an interesting thing is there's all these people out there that have this stuff, and for most doctors, they don't have a clue how to approach them. And for us, it's bread and butter. I mean, we do this all the time. I know what kind of tests are on. I know how to look at their immune system. And basically, the task becomes regulating their immune system. You also want to find whatever the basic infection they have. The most famous one is Epstein-Barr. It's the one that makes mono.
Yeah.
But there's other ones as well.
And it's pretty easy to get Epstein-Barr, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, most people have been exposed to it. It's one of the things that humans share back and forth.
And so what is the symptoms of Epstein-Barr?
Depends. If you can get mono, you get a bad case of the flu.
Right.
You get a temperature, you feel horrible, your lymph nodes swell. It affects your neck a lot. It also has a propensity to affect your liver. If it gets really bad, you get hepatitis. And then once it's cleared, you can clear it out of your system, but your antibodies will stay. Now we're going to kind of dovetail back into this adaptive. Let's do that right now. So we'll use mono as our example. This is known as the kissing disease.
Right.
So you kiss the wrong person.
Hate it when that happens.
Or they just sneeze on you. Or they just, I don't know, it gets in the air, right? Who knows? Whatever. It's viruses. Like there's these little flicks of stuff that get in the air. And so what you do is you get sick. Now, some people don't even get sick. Their body's so tuned in, they just kill the stuff off. Their innate system is very effective, and it just won't let it in. That's a thing. It's like, people forget that you could have a really good innate system, and you never really have to do anything else. I mean, there are creatures that that's how they live. Their innate system takes care of everything. So, but we're going to assume that it broke down, that the virus got in through our defenses, and now is infecting cells. And what it does is it lands on a cell, it penetrates, it releases its instructions, its RNA or DNA, depending on what kind of a virus it is. It gets into the instructions of how the cell functions, and basically turns the cell into a virus factory. The cell used to do a bunch of stuff. It doesn't do any of that stuff anymore. It just makes viruses is what it does. And so eventually the cell fills up full of viruses, the cell breaks and releases, hundreds or thousands of viruses, and they float around to find other cells. So this is bad. This is a bad thing. And so our bodies learn to recognize that when cells are full of virus, they smell different. They look different. They extrude proteins that are different. There's some ways that you can pick up these cells. And we have some innate cells, like the killer T cells, natural killer cells. They can just sense that a cell's full of virus, goes in, just kills the cell, bam. And so that's a great trick. That's like a stronger cell than the other ones. They're just really good at killing stuff. There's other cells that are good at sensing the proteins, taking those proteins, and then making antibodies from those proteins. So let me talk about how that system works a little bit. We make antibody-producing cells, millions of them every day. And each one of these cells makes a different antibody. Now you may wonder, how do we know what kind of antibodies to make? And the answer is, we don't. We don't. We actually don't. We just make random antibody-producing cells that are just different. And most of them never get used because they make antibodies to nothing. There's no organism we ever get exposed to that has that size and shape. So those white blood cells, those B cells, commit suicide after a while. They're not stimulated. If they're not upregulated, if the other cells don't go and say, good job, and they give them massages and pats on the back and say, keep doing this thing, right? If they don't get the love,
They
just off themselves, right? And they make room for another cell. So now tomorrow you make another million of these things, and every day you make a million of them. They're all different. Now, when we get exposed to a novel organism, some virus that we've never seen before, because something just mutated, in South America or China or down the block, and so it's new. We've never seen it before. And our body takes a look at the size and shape of this thing, and then they go around and try to find a white blood cell that makes an antibody that'll interact with this. Antibody means you got the thing, this is the bad thing, and you got the antibody, and they attach, and then this antibody has a little tail that whips and says, here, kill this thing, here, this is where you come. And the white blood cells, woo, come in. Because it's not always easy to find these things. They hide. They're sneaky. So if you got some way to attach a protein that has a beacon, whoop, 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 and you can come in, then the white blood cells come in, a little group of them, bam, 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 they kill it all out, and we're good. We just repelled an invasion. This is a great system. This is the adaptive system. Now, once that white blood cell that makes the right antibody gets selected, because there it is, it's just you've got the right one, it divides and divides and divides and divides and divides, and now it's millions of its sisters, the clones, and they all make antibodies. And now, since you survived this infection, those cells, once they're done, they don't need to make antibodies anymore. After about 3 months of making antibodies, they quit because there's no need anymore. So the antibodies will go up high and then come back down again after about 3 months, but they'll just sit there and wait for the next time. Because chances are, if one got through once, there's going to be another wave. Remember how COVID was?
Right.
We got a wave, and then it kind of died down a little bit, and then we got another wave, and then it died down, and we got another wave. We keep getting these waves.
Yeah, and it evolved every time.
Forever, by the way, forever. They never quit.
Yeah.
The Spanish flu that killed millions back in the early 20th century, it never went away. We still have it. What's the plague? The horrible plague that killed a third of the population in Europe?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's still around.
Okay.
It never disappeared from the planet Earth. We just got used to it. Our immune system got really good at fighting it off.
And knowing what it was, seeing it coming.
People die of plague every year, but just handfuls instead of millions, right? Because the plague figured out a workaround for our immune system, and then eventually our immune system figured out a workaround for the plague, and now we get this, we survive. We'll wait for the next one to come. It's always something, right?
Right, and it gets stronger eventually.
Well, they mutate and they figure out ways to get through our system because we got this elaborate system. Anyways, our white blood cells, they make these antibodies, and then when they're done, they become memory cells, and they remember. So that's when you get, the measles when you're 7, and then you don't die, you survive. Some people die of measles, not most people, but some people do. Anyways, you survive, and now your immune system has these memory cells that last a lifetime. You could be, in your 70s or 80s and get exposed to measles and still have it work. Now, in theory, the fact of the matter is over a lifetime of that long and never getting exposed to measles again, some people will lose their immunity. It is also a thing that happens, but it's not designed to work that way. So there's this innate immunity where we just have stuff like skin and acid and mucus and the cilia on our bronchioles move stuff. They're moving bad things out of our system. So that's part of our innate system as well. I didn't mention that one. So a bunch of stuff that we have. But if the bugs do penetrate our defensive system and get down inside us, we have this backup system that where we can sense whatever the foreign organism is, take a piece of its protein, find out where we got the right fit in terms of the antibody production in our white blood cells, upregulate whatever that white blood cell or the group of them are, and then now we got defense against this whole thing. Now this whole process takes days, so the innate system works right away. So our first layer of protection against an infection is all innate, and if the infection persists more than just 2 days or 3 days, then our adaptive immunity kicks on about 3 days into it. And so we'll get the second wave of being able to fight the infection off. So when you think about the flu, what happens with the flu? You get it, you get sick, you're sick for 2 or 3 days, then your immune system really kicks in,
and then
you start getting better.
Yes.
There it is. That's the timing. We all know what the timing is. You get a cold, same thing. Now sometimes colds or flus are tricky and they linger longer. They do something with our immune system like the COVID did, is it actually affected the immune system itself. And so that they get this workaround and they can linger longer. They can linger longer, maybe they hang around for 5 days or 7 days or 14 days. And sometimes they can just linger forever. They never leave. Let's go back to Epstein-Barr. Epstein-Barr is a famous example of this because
it lingers for
lots
years.
of people get Epstein-Barr. They don't clear it from their system because we learn how to kind of live with Epstein-Barr, but it messes with us and it's in our system and it's low-grade infection that doesn't clear. Lyme disease is another classic one.
And does Lyme disease cause Epstein-Barr?
No, they're different.
Okay.
Different organisms, different diseases. Now, the similarity between the two is both of them affect our immune system. Both of them make us tired. Both of them make us sick. It's not easy to look at someone who's in the throes of this thing and tell whether they have Epstein-Barr or Lyme because they look the same. They have the same kind of complaints. Not exactly. There's some subtle differences that sometimes will show you can help you guide clinically one or the other. The best thing to do is just run a test, though, and look for the antibodies.
Yeah.
And then you know for sure. Testing has really, really, really helped us be able to target how to fight these things off. So now in the few minutes that we have left in the show, I want to talk about ways that we can get our immune system to work better. Now, it turns out with viruses, you think we won't just take an antiviral, something that just kills the virus, right? Except for
that will kill the virus, but that won't support the immune system.
Yeah, killing viruses is not an easy thing to do because viruses aren't alive. They don't have a metabolism. They're just little packets of protein that are wrapped up in protein. So our innate system works pretty good about just repelling these things. But once they invade cells, then you can't kill the virus, you have to kill the cell. So that's what our white blood cells do. They have the ability to recognize these infected cells and then go in and kill the infected cells. That'll make you sick. You'll feel poorly when that's happening. Remember I told you about the little packets of poison and they go pop, 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 pop? Now there's a wave of poison. Not only did it kill the pathogen, but it also killed everything else in the area. I mean, all the other cells all took a hit. At least they're sick. They're not good. If either they died or they don't work right. Now, if you have a tiny little speck somewhere in your body that happens, you won't even notice that because we're huge. Mm-hmm. But if you got millions of things going on, now you start thinking, I don't feel good. I feel funny. I feel, I don't know, achy, weird, feverish, something. Right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's because of all those chemicals. And the feverish is an interesting one because the cytokines know that if we're hot, our whole system works better. Those cells are more active, the enzymes are more active, we make stuff quicker, better, faster, we're able to fight infections better, we just get a better version of ourselves. So much better, you think, well, why don't we just all run hotter all the time? Well, in that case, we burn out.
Yeah.
We have short lives. like those little mice do, right? They only live 2 years, right? Man, they're turn and burn.
Right.
They're running hot, and most little animals are running hotter than us. They just do. They live faster, and then they break down. The heat, not only does it make stuff faster, it also breaks stuff faster. So we're trying to figure out the balance here as a species of how can we live long enough to collect wisdom and pass it on to our children, right? And our at least the members of our society. So we live longer than we should. If you look at our size, we should be, living till our 20s or 30s, like we used to back in the old days.
Right.
But we don't anymore.
Yes.
Now we live into our 70s and 80s, right? Or even more. Because our bodies have learned how to adapt to our modern lifestyle, and things are changing, and we're living longer because there's a utility for our species to live longer.
Oh, Dr. Luper, I think we are out of time.
Okay, so there's a lot more to be said about the herb thing. Let me just say before we're done, there's a whole bunch of herbs that stimulate our immune system to work better. That's how they work. They don't actually kill the organisms. Lots of them. Scutellaria is one, Mahonia is one, Glycyrrhiza is one, elderberry is one, astragalus is one. There's all kinds of herbs that are good for our immune system, and they work by stimulating our immune system rather than killing stuff directly. Garlic is the exception. Garlic actually is toxic to a lot of organisms and just kills them. So if you rub garlic on something, the reason why the plant makes the garlic is so that it's a defense.
Right. Yep.
And so we get to take that defense on. So does oregano and mint and other kinds of oils that come from plants. They're all defenses we're just taking. We're borrowing their defenses. But most of these things stimulate our immune system to work better, and that's how they work. So we always got to think, how do we build people up? And the best way to build people up in this situation is to have them sleep. Sleep goes a long ways to helping people heal. So that, again, everybody knows this already, but I just got to remind people what you already know, that what you're trying to do is get your immune system to run better. What you need to do is get out of the way. Go lay down.
Yep.
And let your immune system go to work. Yeah. Common sense. Okay.
Well, we will probably review on another episode.
All right, Haley.
Thanks.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Sensible Health Solutions. We hope you found today's discussion enlightening and packed with practical tips to enhance your wellness journey. Remember, small changes can lead to big results. If you enjoyed the episode, don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. Your feedback helps us bring you the best content possible. Stay connected with us on social media for more health insights and updates. You can find us at Sensible Health Solutions across all social platforms. Until next time, stay sensible and stay healthy. This content is for informational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Seek medical advice from a healthcare professional for any medical conditions.